After a night of passion, Jillian says goodbye to her boyfriend Spencer, an astronaut who is leaving on a space mission. The next day Jillian watches the rocket take off and notices the windows shaking. Sometime later, Jillian is teaching her class when she's suddenly interrupted by a call from NASA. They connect her to the rocket so she and Spencer can share a few words. After work, Jillian starts preparing dinner at home with her sister Nan. Suddenly she accidentally cuts her finger when she sees on the news that the rocket had an accident. At that moment an employee from NASA called Reese comes to pick her up, explaining nobody knows if the astronauts aren't alive. At NASA, Jillian hugs Natalie, the wife of the other astronaut in Spencer's mission. Soon it's confirmed that the astronauts are alive and NASA is in the process of bringing them back. Apparently they were doing some repairs outside the rocket when suddenly there was an explosion and they lost contact for 2 minutes. The astronauts drifted behind the shuttle for a few moments before NASA turned it around 180 degrees to rescue them. On a big screen, they play the landing of the shuttle to confirm the men are fine. Later at the hospital Jillian watches her unconscious husband while the doctor confirms his vitals are fine and he has no brain damage, so they can only wait until he wakes up. However, Natalie's husband Alex is an older man and his heart may not survive the stress of the accident. The next morning Spencer finally wakes up and is happy to reunite with Jillian. Meanwhile Alex is talking about the incident in his sleep, revealing they saw something before the explosion. Suddenly he wakes up and sees Natalie at the window before he starts having a seizure. The doctors rush in and have to sedate him to calm him down, but this only causes a heart attack. For a second he appears to be dead, but the doctors bring him back with a defibrillation. When Natalie turns around, she notices that Spencer and Jillian also watch the whole thing. A few days later the astronauts are given an award during a special event. Jillian chats with Natalie, who points out it's strange that their husbands never talk about the accident, almost as if it didn't happen. After the event, Spencer tells Jillian that he's quit his astronaut job and has taken an executive position at an aerospace firm. This company is in New York so they'll have to move there, which shocks Jillian because Spencer hates big cities. She's sad to lose her friend and her job but agrees to do it to support her husband. While the couples chat, Reese watches them from afar. Sometime later the kids throw a little goodbye party for Jillian, and that night the couple's friends surprise them with a huge celebration. Jillian notices that Alex looks uncomfortable and keeps arguing with Natalie. He kisses her rather aggressively against her will, but when she pushes him off he starts coughing blood. As he freaks out, Alex runs around the party looking for Spencer, only to suddenly collapse and die on top of a table. The next day NASA holds a press conference to discuss Alex's death. Reporters want to know if this is related to the space accident and if Spencer is in danger as well, but a NASA doctor assures them that all tests indicate Spencer is perfectly healthy and Alex's death is unrelated to the mission. During the funeral, Jillian tries to comfort her friend. However, Natalie insists on commenting on Alex's weird behavior since he came back from space. Apparently they talk to Alex every night and when Jillian asks who is them, Natalie points at the radio. She also says that Alex is hiding inside her. Assuming this nonsense is a consequence of the trauma, Jillian decides to give Natalie some time alone. Minutes later the lights flicker and everyone hears a scream. Jillian, Spencer, and Reese follow the noise and find a young girl screaming at Natalie's body in the shower. She's self-deleted using the radio. A few days later Jillian and Spencer are settling down in New York. During a party thrown by Spencer's boss, Jillian feels out of place among all these rich people she doesn't know, but eventually she manages to befriend the boss's wife Shelley. Moments later Jillian needs a break because she's drunk. When Spencer checks on her, she finally asks him about the accident. At first he refuses to answer, but Jillian insists so he drags her to a private spot. Spencer starts describing how dark and cold it was after the explosion while getting handsy with her, checking her pulse and trying to get her excited. He says he almost died that day, but thinking of Jillian is what helped him survive. The couple starts doing it against the wall and later continues their naughty times at home. Jillian doesn't enjoy it very much because he's very rough, which never happened before. In the middle of the night, Jillian wakes up alone in bed. She goes looking for Spencer and finds him listening to the radio, which is only playing static noise. When she calls his name, Spencer immediately changes the station to some music. He also apologizes for being rough, blaming it on the alcohol. Afterward Jillian starts a new job at a school, but she can't shake the feeling something is wrong. Spencer arrives home late all the time and they don't see each other much. Sometime later at school Jillian takes a test during her break and discovers she's pregnant. However, she isn't happy about it and the same strange feeling haunts her. One night Jillian and Spencer have dinner with his boss, who talks about mysterious signals in space that humans can't hear and building a ship to find them. Most of the conversation is technical space stuff that Jillian doesn't understand and she continues to feel out of place. When the couple has a moment alone, Jillian confesses how uncomfortable she feels around these people and points out that Spencer doesn't sound like himself when he talks business. He keeps asking if she's hiding something, so she finally tells him that she's pregnant and Spencer is very happy. The next day they visit an OB/GYN and the couple is surprised to hear they'll be having twins. When Jillian gets a moment alone with the doctor, she confesses that after her parents died, she saw hallucinations of the dead bodies of her loved ones and sometimes even her own. Eventually she received treatment and got better, but she's worried that the pregnancy will bring it back. The doctor assures her it'll be fine as long as she has people who support her. That night Jillian dreams about Natalie's death, but she sees her own body in the shower. Spencer wakes her up and comforts her by giving her a bath. He says the twins will be as beautiful as their mother and pilots like their father. From then on Jillian starts attending meetings with a support group for women expecting twins. They all mention how their husbands don't make an effort to understand what they're going through. At home, Jillian often checks the radio to confirm it's playing music and not static, which puts her in a better mood. A few months later at a baby shop, Jillian is approached by a very nervous-looking Reese. He explains he's been going through Spencer's files and noticed some peculiarities, like the fact his signature has changed and the numbers on his new medical tests not matching the ones from before the trip. Jillian asks if NASA sent him, so Reese must admit he was fired because the company thought he lost his mind. Getting scared, Jillian tries to walk away from him, but Reese follows her and reveals that Natalie had been pregnant when she died. Now that he has Jillian's attention, Reese keeps going. Spencer's and Alex's suits were supposed to have recorders, yet those 2 minutes are silent, not to mention they were trained to handle explosions. Something must have happened that the astronauts weren't trained for. Reese asks Jillian if she's sure that Spencer is really her old husband and gives her a tape. The moment is interrupted by a cop, who holds Reese while Jillian runs away. At home Reese listens to the recording, which ends when Alex and Spencer see something moving toward them. Getting scared, Jillian destroys the tape and throws it in the trash. Sometime later Nan comes to visit Jillian and hears what happened. Nan thinks they should tell Spencer so he can get in contact with NASA, but Jillian asks her to keep the secret. That night Spencer and the sisters go to a restaurant, however Jillian isn't feeling well and Spencer agrees to go home. Later at the apartment Jillian can't sleep. She talks to Spencer and learns Nan left to have fun on her own, but she can't remember the last time she had with Spencer. When Jillian asks him if he ever thinks about Alex and Natalie, Spencer insists they must leave the past behind and move on to be happy. The next day Jillian calls Reese to ask for more details and learns that Natalie had been expecting twins too. Jillian has a breakdown as she explains she doesn't know if the baby's father is the old or the new Spencer. Reese doesn't want to say much on the phone, so they agree to meet. When Jillian comes out of the subway station, she's shocked to see Spencer approaching Reese and she has to hide. The men chit-chat for a while and Spencer drags Reese to the nearest cafe. Reese manages to drop his bag for Jillian, but before she can grab it, Spencer takes it first. Afterward Jillian goes home and has an argument with Nan, accusing her of telling Spencer about Reese. Nan swears she didn't do it and leaves the apartment in a huff. Furious, Jillian throws a glass at the radio. Then she tries calling the hotel Reese is staying at, but the receptionist tells her the room is empty. The next time she goes to work, Jillian finds a letter from Reese with the key to his storage unit, asking her to be careful. After work, Jillian goes to the storage unit and finds tons of newspaper articles about Spencer. There also are pictures Reese took while following Spencer around the city and a tape with Jillian's name. When she grabs it, the power goes out and she starts hearing someone running through the corridors. Getting scared, Jillian starts desperately searching for the exit and screams when she bumps into someone, but it's just another client turning the power back on. When she gets home, Jillian watches the tape. Reese appears on the screen saying that if she's watching this, it means he's dead. Then he shows her an analysis of the recording of the accident. 2 different lines represent Alex and Spencer, but there's a mysterious third line that at first appears to be static. Reese has managed to fix the static and translated it, so now a shocked Jillian can hear an alien voice mixed with the noise. He's sure that Spencer and Alex's bodies were taken over by aliens, and the ship Spencer is now building with the new company will bring more aliens to Earth. The blueprints show the ship will have 2 computers in the cockpit feeding into each other, meaning the twins are expected to be the pilots. Suddenly Jillian is startled by Spencer coming home, but thankfully the recording is over. Spencer has brought a movie to watch together and when he's about to pop it in, he finds Reese's tape. Jillian convinces him it's just a video with pregnancy tips and Spencer drops it. While they watch the movie, Jillian tries asking Spencer about his work project, but he only says it was a contract for a client and he didn't do much. The couple falls asleep on the couch and Spencer dreams of the mission. He and Alex had been working calmly when suddenly Alex started screaming at something coming closer, causing Spencer to freeze. Jillian ends up seeing the same dream, however when they wake up Spencer says he didn't dream at all. The next day Jillian meets with Shelley, who gives her some medicine that can force a miscarriage. Shelley says it'll look natural and nobody will suspect anything. When Jillian gets home, she keeps hesitating and ends up having a breakdown, so she decides not to take the medicine. Suddenly she sees an image of the twins and falls to the floor in unbearable pain, thinking the babies are punishing her. As she spits some blood, Spencer arrives and asks her what she was going to do to the babies, making her realize the twins communicated with him. Jillian tries to explain she wasn't going to do it, but Spencer slaps her. A terrified Jillian tries running away and Spencer blocks her way, begging her to talk about this. At that moment she feels pain in her belly again, and it's so strong that it causes her to fall downstairs. Sometime later, Jillian wakes up in an operation room and sees Spencer for a second before she falls asleep again. The next time she wakes up, she's in a hospital room and Spencer is telling her to stay silent. The babies are fine, so for now they'll forget about the miscarriage pills. Later when Nan comes to visit, Jillian tries to tell her that something is wrong and that Spencer is hiding inside her, only to fall asleep in the middle of the conversation. That night Spencer reminds Jillian that if the doctors ever hear about her dark thoughts, they'll lock her up. He keeps touching her belly and saying he's there because they are one. Later at home Nan finds Spencer going through Reese's bag and starts getting suspicious, so he attacks her. As Nan screams in pain, Jillian hears her and runs downstairs to find her sister dead on the floor. However, at that moment she wakes up in the hospital. Thinking the nightmare was an omen, Jillian sneaks out of the hospital right before Spencer arrives. She takes a cab and thinks another car is following her, so she runs off and takes the subway instead. During the ride, she keeps having visions of everything that happened. When Jillian leaves the station she finds Spencer waiting for her, so she starts running. Spencer immediately follows her home, but she makes sure to get in the elevator alone. He gets in the elevator next to hers and Jillian freaks out because she can feel him through the walls. Once she reaches her apartment, she blocks the door with some furniture and checks every room, but Nan is nowhere to be seen. Spencer pushes the door until he manages to get inside and finds Jillian putting the radio into the water to try to self-delete. He yells at her as he tries to make her see reason, but he's afraid of getting too close because of the water on the floor. At that moment Jillian sees little wounds on Spencer's hand and remembers that Nan tries to defend herself in her vision, which confirms he killed her sister. When she calls him out, the man finally admits he killed the real Spencer and Nan before announcing he lives in Jillian's belly. Using the power that connects him to the twins, he starts dragging Jillian toward him. Suddenly lots of water starts falling from above because Jillian turned on every single faucet in the apartment. Since she's sitting on a stool, she simply has to lift her feet before finally plugging in the radio, electrocuting Spencer. As all the light bulbs explode above them, the alien comes out of Spencer's body and enters Jillian's through her eyes, forcing her to unplug the radio while Spencer falls dead. A few years later, Jillian is married to another pilot and living under a new name in the suburbs. The twins are healthy and go to school normally, but there's something ominous about them. Jillian says they'll be pilots like their father, and when her husband tries to say he's the stepfather, she corrects him saying he's their father now. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.